This is SSN.
Story Studio Network.
Welcome to the Fatigue Fixer podcast. Have you ever wondered why you and most of the women you know seem tired so much of the time? Well, this is the podcast where we explore why. I'm your host, Dr. Sarah Vedboncoeur. I'm a naturopathic doctor, hockey and baseball mom, bookworm, and nerd at heart who's fascinated by the state of modern women's health and well-being. I've had the privilege of treating thousands of women in my practice over the past 14 years, and hearing your stories has taught me an important lesson. Women are incredibly strong, resilient, and self-aware. And yet, too many of us are struggling to show up fully in our lives because we're tired and unwell. I want you to have the energy you need to share your unique gifts with the world because we are in desperate need of more female leadership. So join me for conversations that will help you feel less alone, more informed about all the things that might be draining your energy, and inspired to fix your fatigue and wake up every morning feeling rested and excited for the day ahead. I can't wait to share today's episode with you. So let's get into it. Welcome back to the Fatigue Fixer. In our last episode, we talked about time, how we feel like we never have enough of it, but the problem isn't actually a lack of time, it's scattered energy. And one of the places where this is often an issue is when it comes to creating new habits. We often try to change too many things at once. We might try to go for more walks, eat more protein, go to bed earlier, start meditating and stretching. So we end up scattering our energy in 5 or 6 different directions, on top of all of the other things we need to do in the day. We get overwhelmed, we end up failing at our habits, we feel shame and terrible, and we repeat the cycle over and over again. We're recording this in January, the season of New Year's resolutions, when all of this is often at the forefront. My goals for this year, because I refuse to call them resolutions, is to walk 10,000 steps a day. And that's not because there's anything magical about walking 10,000 steps a day. It's because it is a perfect small increase to what my goal was last year, which was 7,500 steps. So it's a 25% increase. And within that 10,000 steps, I also have a goal to do at least 10 minutes a day of something that gets my heart rate up. Now, what I want to do is buy a treadmill and run. But the snack size bite I'm starting with before I buy a treadmill that may or may not collect dust in the corner is I'm using what I have, which is a walking pad. I crank my walking pad to the max speed, which is like a brisk walk. And I'm doing that to try out and to test out, is this something that I'm actually going to do before I invest my money in a walking pad? So I want you to think about what your health, your life, your confidence would look like if you were more consistent with your habits. Well, today's guest, habit change expert Katie Falloon-Drew, is here to help us do just that. Katie is a health behavior change expert with a master's in health psychology and helps busy women cut through the noise of health shoulds to make realistic and lasting mental and physical health habit shifts that make them feel good at any age, phase, and size. Katie is a sought-after speaker, best-selling author, mental health ambassador, and health and confidence coach. As a busy mom in her 40s, she's mastered how to prioritize health and build authentic confidence in a realistic way. After experiencing a mental breakdown in her 30s, chasing external confidence, Katie now helps women create a healthy and confident life from the inside out for the right reasons. Katie, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Me too. I'm really excited for this conversation, and I know our listeners are going to love it too. So I thought we would dive in with one of the things I think most of us have heard over and over again in terms of like how long it takes to create a new habit. And this 21 days that someone somewhere, I see you shaking your head. Can you talk to us about how long does it actually take to create and like maintain habits?
So the short answer is it depends on the person. This whole 21-day thing, the lore is that that's what, insurance companies were going to give you if you had a substance use disorder and you needed to go and do a recovery, right? And for whether you had an issue with alcohol. I worked in the addiction field for 6 years. So this was the lore. It's that you can change the habit in 21 days because that's what you were going to get in a recovery program. So but the answer is it completely depends. I've seen clients change habits in 2 weeks, and I've seen clients that take 4 months. So really, there is no actual number. It really depends on the person.
Okay. And what are some of the things that you see, what helps someone create a habit more quickly? Or what are some of the things that we want to think about that are going to help us to be more successful when we're trying to create a new habit?
So I have my 5 S's of habit change, right? And so we can get into that. But the biggest thing, and I love the book Atomic Habits. I think that's a great start for people. It's literally what I preach, and it's what I learned in my master's degree too, right? In terms of how to change health behaviors. The thing we have to think about here, and it's the reason why New Year's resolutions don't work, is that changing habits is hard. We're actually, the neuroscience behind it is we're building new neural pathways. And so if we, think about our brains, I like to give this analogy. So I'll start with this because I feel like for a lot of clients, this really helps. Picture your brain, right? So our mammalian brain is here to keep us safe, right? It's here to keep us comfortable. It is here to keep us safe. Great. That's what we want it to do. But as you know, with your clients, sometimes that can kick us in the butt, when we're in fight, flight, freeze, fawn, so where it kicks us in the butt is when we're trying to change a habit, be it a good, bad, anything, because it is designed to stay in homeostasis. So here's an example, and I like to give this analogy. Let's say you're sedentary and you're trying to start, an exercise routine. Picture you're on a bicycle, you're riding down this nice, smooth path, and you have created what we call a neural pathway, right? You're used to being sedentary. And so in that point, when that decision needs to be made about whether you're going to get off the couch and go for a walk or stay on the couch and be comfortable, that staying on the couch and be comfortable is what you've been doing. Your brain is used to it. Your brain wants to keep you comfortable, safe. It actually doesn't really want you to, change your temperature, do new things, even though we know that that's actually good for us. And so that you're riding down the path on that bike, and that staying on the couch is like that nicely paved right side of the path that banks beautifully. In the moment, the decision that you need to make to get off the couch in the beginning, it's like trying to take that bike and you need to physically turn it left on more of a bumpy uphill path. I like to call it the gravel path, because in the beginning, that one, it is the first few times it's going to be real hard. But the more times that you put the systems in place, the mindset in place to change it and turn that bike to the left, the more you pack down that left path, the smoother it gets. So you build new neural pathways. Now, when it comes to something like exercise, the left path will never be easier than the right path. This is the misconception, right? Yes. Oh, you have the motivation. Oh, you work out too. No, friends, it's still hard to get my shoes on. But it's not as hard because I have kind of beaten down that path by really kind of that beginning shift. And that's what I help my clients do. I do a 3-month program because that's what I have noticed is most successful for people. But it's because at the beginning, it is going to be hard to take that left path. We need to create new neural pathways, but the more we do it, the easier it becomes.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think what I hear a lot, and certainly I felt this myself, is that when you're in that moment trying to make that decision, your body, like you said, it prefers the couch. Mm-hmm. And so the story that a lot of us tell ourselves is that I'm lazy. I cannot tell you how many women in the forums where I ask about exercise, they write, I don't do it, I'm lazy. And every time I'm like, you're not lazy. You have a human brain designed to conserve energy. It will pick sitting on the couch every single time. And what I'm also hearing you say now, like, would it be accurate to say that like change almost feels scary to the brain?
100%. And here we are. And I love that you brought this up because I think my mission on this earth is to remove shame from health.
Love it.
Because here we are, we're self-deprecating. We can have everyone can have the best intentions. We do. You do. I do. Any of my clients do. We have the best of intention. We really want to change. But in the moment, because we don't understand the way our brain works and the way habit change works, we don't do it because, of course, it is hard to wrench that bike the first time, especially the first few times you got to white knuckle that baby. It is like really difficult. But the more you understand that it's actually your brain and not you, and you take the shame out of it and you get prepared. Like when I work with my clients, it's like, all right, we know this is going to be hard. We're taking the shame out of it. This is not your quote unquote fault, but you are the only one that's going to show up and change it. So there is, of course, accountability there. But when we understand it in that moment, we're like, oh, hi, brain. Thanks for protecting me. I know you're here to actually try to protect me. But you know what? This comfortable state is not feeling comfortable anymore. So what am I going to do? I love Mel Robbins, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, rip the Band-Aid. And so it's creating the systems, but also shifting our mindset to understand that, wait a second, this is normal. Here you are scrolling on Instagram, watching the rest of us work out thinking, well, you must have something I don't. You must be motivated. Bull. Yep. It's not true. We've just figured out how to hack our brain and how to change the systems, that every single person can do this.
Yeah. I think that's so important is normalizing that it is hard.
Yes.
Because again, when you look on Instagram and you see people who make it look easy, or you see your neighbor or your colleague who make it look easy, we always assume there must be something wrong with me because I find it really hard.
Yep.
One of the things that I often think about and talk about, and I don't know if it's correct based on the neuroscience, but this idea that if you let your thoughts in, like, for example, if you want to go for a walk, if I want to go for a walk, again, I shared, that's my goal. When I want to go for my walk, if I start to think about it and I let my brain start to have thoughts about it, the thoughts are going to be the 300 reasons why I can't go or shouldn't go for a walk and all the other things I should do instead. So I often talk to my patients about not thinking about it and just doing the next step. Like, don't think about it, walk to your front door and put your shoes on. Like, is this good advice? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
It's 1000% advice. So, and this is why, like, you know, Atomic Habits is like the Bible for me, but a lot of so here's the problem. It is the 90-second, the hard part is not the walk. You and I both know. The hard, and I love, you know, I do Peloton. Anyone who does Peloton, there's this instructor, Jess, and she's like, you click in your feet into the bike and she goes, look, the hardest part of the workout is done. Check,
so
done.
True.
So this is the thing, the 90 seconds that it takes you to make the decision, that is the golden time of the habit change. And so I reference Mel Robbins as well. It's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You rip the Band-Aid. It's saying to yourself, catching, oh, hang on. My brain's coming in with all the excuses. Is it because I'm lazy? No, it's because my brain wants to keep me comfortable. Because when I was in the cave and it was freezing cold out and there could have been lions and all the things, that is what it's designed to do. But so it's 90 seconds. And there's things that we can do to mitigate this. I'm happy to go into that if you want.
Okay. One of the things, and I think this is one of your 5 S's, correct me if I'm wrong, but is to not approach your goals from a place of shame, but to really think about how you want to feel. Can we start with that? I don't know if I maybe took 2 different things, but talk to us about why shame-based goals, like I need to lose weight, is probably the classic shame-based goal.
Yep.
Talk to us about why shame-based goals don't work and how we want to think about, like, how do we want to approach that instead? Okay.
So a lot of people have heard of cognitive behavioral therapy. So I'm not a therapist, I'm a coach, right? And there's a difference there, but I will often talk about cognitive behavioral therapy. So what this is that our belief systems create our thoughts, right? So I love using the weight loss one because it makes it tangible. So the belief system in society is that I need to be a certain weight to be accepted, to be attractive, and to feel good, okay? That's the belief. 200 years ago, if you were thin, you probably worked in a field and you didn't have money and you were not attractive. So we also have to remember, like, what's the context? Like, who said, right? Yeah. But anyway, I digress. So that's the belief system. We're in this society of beliefs. It creates our thoughts. Our thought is then that, well, I'm not good enough. I don't look the way I'm supposed to look. I'm not attractive. And therefore, what does that do? Your thought creates your feeling. You feel low. You don't have confidence. You feel probably a little bit of shame. What drives your actions? Your feelings drive your actions. Your thoughts don't drive your actions. It's your feeling. So the biggest mistake people make is and this is the New Year's resolution thing, is they go straight to action. And what I do with my clients is we step back and we say, hang on a second. How do you want to feel? We cannot ignore the belief and thought patterns, because that is what's driving your feeling, and your feeling is driving your action. So if you go straight to the action, you could be well-intentioned the night before. You're like, I'm doing it tomorrow. Well, guess what? You've created a shame-based goal. What does shame make you feel like? So I have to lose weight. Well, that's going to make you feel already negative. I'm not enough. I'm lazy. I need to do this. I should. So you're starting from a place of like, ugh. Is that a place where we think we can get the shoes on, take action, feel positive, feel inspired, feel motivated, even though I don't love the word motivated, but feel dedicated? No, this is the problem. And this is the biggest issue I see with women. They come to me and they're like, I just can't stick to it. And we get down to it. And it's because they're coming from a place of shame. Well, if you're busy, I know you have a child, like I've got 2 kids, we're working, we're busy. We can be so well-intentioned. At the end of the day, when we're exhausted, what's the one thing that's going to fall off the to-do list? The stuff that makes us feel like crap. It's just like, it's so logical when you think about it, right? And so my big tip is often, it's okay. I'm not going to tell you not to have a goal to lose weight. I won't say that. I will definitely want to ask you why. Like, why do you want to lose weight? Well, usually you get down to it and it's because I want to feel like I'm enough. Well, guess what? You can probably feel that way without the weight loss. However, there are definitely people out there that want to they just feel better. That's fine. So I'm not going to shame anyone. I'm not going to shame anyone for wanting to lose weight. But if that is the only reason that you are approaching your health goals, you will not stick to it. We have to reframe it and say, okay, how do you want to feel? So we've got down to the bottom of this. Okay, you said you want to lose weight. Ultimately, what we've realized is you just want to feel good. You want to feel alive, vibrant, energetic, enough. Like I make my clients like pick 2 to 3 words. Mm-hmm. Then we approach our thought patterns. We kind of have to do a bit of a mindset shift. Then we can start small with our habit shifts in a way that's going to give us a bit of like that initial satisfaction right away. So let's say you were trying to lose weight because you wanted to feel good and happy. Okay, great. What in your day-to-day life actually makes you feel better? Well, actually going for a walk makes me feel good right away. Sweet. So that's what we're going to focus on. We're not going to focus on the shame-based goal. We're actually going to focus on how do you want to feel today? And then we can start creating the SMART goals, the systems, the specific things, small, and then we can use all the other habits, change science, right? Which is let's start small, build from there. But we are going to only focus, our new goal is no longer weight loss. That could be a distant goal. Our new goal is I want to feel energetic, peaceful, calm, whatever you choose. And we build small habits, daily habits that make you feel more like that. Then you get the pride, then you get the momentum, you get that an instant dopamine hit. That's what's going to keep you going. Because otherwise you're waiting for this outcome-based, long-term, shame-filled goal. And guess what? I know a lot of people that get there. And what happens? Well, the goals shift. Oh, I did lose the 15 pounds. And
they're still not happy.
They're still not happy.
I think they're still not happy. That's another important part.
Yes.
Because I think what you're saying is so important. Because if you have a goal in mind, you want that thing because you believe somewhere in your body, mind, heart of heart, that is associated with feeling something different.
Yes.
And the more quickly you can connect to the feeling you're chasing, like you said, Katie, you don't have to wait for that long outcome. You can choose to do things today, right now, that are going to help you feel, because that is ultimately what you want.
Yes,
And
100%.
The other thing with weight loss, correct me if I'm wrong, weight loss is a desired outcome. It's not actually a goal. Because shouldn't a goal be something that is 100% within your control, which as much as we would like it to be, weight loss is not. Weight loss is the outcome you want. It's the desire, but your goal should be actions that are within your control. Is that fair to say?
Yes. I mean, some people could say, well, that's the long-term goal. But I would agree with you. Like, that is the outcome. And often we just need somebody to ask us questions for us to wake up. Like, I can't even tell you how many clients come to me. And in the first call, like, I'll do a 90-minute strategy call, even if people don't stay for a program, just to kind of get clear. And then when you ask the right question, like, why do you want that? And then what is that going to give you? Oh, and why? Oh, and then what? And then you're like, holy crap. Oh, okay. I just want to feel like I'm enough. And like you said, but you can feel like that. I love, like, Melissa McCarthy. Like, I'll use her as an example. What's the first thing you think of when you think of Melissa McCarthy?
She's hilarious.
Vibrant, hilarious, beautiful. She's not a size 6. And the other thing I share in my own journey, and if you follow me and if you hear me speak, there is a picture of my husband and I when I'm 33. It is the best I've ever looked in my life. Like, I looked like amazing. And I was off work on mental health leave, couldn't get out of bed, so depressed, so anxious, because I had reached all the things the society told me was going to make me happy. I had 2 kids, 2 degrees, a great job, a beautiful husband, a freaking white picket fence around my house. I was a size 6. I was still wearing a bikini after kids. Check, 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 type A, check, check, high achiever, full crash. Because I was like, what? And so I share that because I know there's so many people that will look at me sometimes, right? I'm still fit. And they're like, well, easy for you to say. And it's like, you know what? Don't chase that, because I'm telling you right now, I had it all and it still didn't work. So how do we need to go in? That's what I talk about, vibrancy versus confidence. You could be confident on the outside. You could look good. And you could have all the boxes checked. You could be happy with your life, but not happy in your life. That's the difference. And vibrancy is, how can you feel vibrant in your life? You don't have to wait until you've lost the 15 pounds, until you've gotten the job. It's literally, you don't. And it sounds, I think some people might listen to this and say, that's bull. It's not. I've seen it over and over again. It is all about a mindset shift.
100%. I couldn't agree more. Are you willing to share, like, what were you actually chasing in that part of your life? Like, what were you looking for that you thought was going to make you happy? And how is that different now?
I was on a treadmill I didn't realize I was on. So I don't even think I saw the forest for the trees. I was like, well, this is what you do at this age. Well, you get married. Well, you have kids. Well, you work out. And it's like, I was, as corny as it sounds, I was just so laser focused on this treadmill of the external expectations and expectations I'd placed on myself that I was not living in the present moment at all. Like, I was constantly just, I still have to, like, listen, I mean, the growth never ends, as you know, like, it's like, I'm still constantly, even as an entrepreneur now, and okay, hold on, hang on, don't get sucked up back into this treadmill. So for me, it was, society said, if you have all these things, you're enough. You've made it. And I think there was probably a part of me that was kind of like, F you, everybody, I made it. Like, like, seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, look at me.
Look at me.
I did it.
Mm-hmm. And then, like, my best friend didn't even know I was struggling, because you put on this, like, shell of, like, everyone's like, but you're so confident. Like, they used to put me in front of, like, thousands of people at conferences when I was working in the public health agency at the time. I came off as very confident. That's the thing. I was confident. I was not vibrant. It was not from the inside. I was not listening to my knowing. I was not living in the present moment. I was not enjoying life. I was literally just next thing, prove myself. I can't even tell, like now it's always a growth, right? Like I'm still working on it, but it's taking a moment, really asking myself, is this what I want or what I think everybody else wants of me?
Yeah. And I have no doubt so many women listening can relate to what you're saying. And I think we bring this into our habits, right? How much of the habits and the things that we say we want to do are because we see other people doing them, or we think we should, or our mom thinks we should, or our husband, or whoever. Like, I think what you're saying is so important, which is when you can figure out what actually matters to you, what is important to you, not just what everybody else is doing, that's when you can start to like literally create the life you actually want that doesn't just look pretty on the outside and checks all the boxes of doing the things you all got told to do, but that actually, like you said, makes you feel good and you're actually happy inside of it. That's so important.
Yes. Yeah. Like I say that I've been saying this recently. It seems to be like smacking a lot of like professional or successful women in the face. This line that maybe I'll write a book, but that you might be happy with your life, but you're not happy in it. I know so many women who are feeling like that. You've created the life that so you have the kids and the job and the house and the whatever, but you're not happy in it. Now, I want to say though, let's caveat that because I think we have to also manage our expectations of happiness. And so like, I actually prefer the word content. I think too, we've been sold this like bill of goods that we're supposed to feel awesome all the time. Like we're supposed to feel happy all the time. Like that's not life.
No.
So part of it too, and this is what I work with, clients might come with me because they think they're going to get like a clear health routine. And it's really, as you can see now, it's so much deeper. It's life coaching, it's living, like, what is it? What is your formula to live your most vibrant life? And you know what the most common exercise is that I do with people is managing expectations exercise. Because our anxiety and stress lives between our expectations and reality. And I did it so many times with clients that I created a PDF off Canva to send to people because I was like, hang on here. You're not feeling vibrant, not because you don't have great things, like all the it's because you've set your expectations on yourself as a mom, as a this, as a that, on your partner, right? On your kids. Sometimes it's actually about managing our expectations and being okay that we're not going to feel okay all the time. That's why I wanted to add that in because otherwise it's just toxic positivity and the expectation's so high that like, well, no one's ever going to reach that.
Well, and I talked about this in the last episode. We also need to get comfortable and okay with trade-offs. Life is full of trade-offs. And one of the things that you and I agree on that you say all the time that I love is like, if you are trying to bring a new habit into your life, you need to take some shit out first.
Yep.
Most of us are trying to pile more shit onto a plate that is already overflowing. And then we wonder why things keep sliding off and why we can't figure out how to get all the things done. There's literally no room. And yet our approach, especially if you're a high achiever, like I think we would both self-identify as, like we're really good at putting stuff on there. We're really good at adding and new and more. We suck at saying no. We suck at cutting things off. We suck at being okay with just doing things good enough. So talk to us about why, before we add something new, what do we need to do?
Yes. Like I did a whole keynote on this in the fall. They thought they were getting a health coach to come tell them like to be healthy. And I showed up and I was like, so what we need to do is chill the F out. But really, so you can't add anything. So it kind of goes back to the shame-based goals. Like, how does habit change actually work? We have to acknowledge that it's hard to change a habit. So number one, acknowledge it's hard, right? Acknowledge that you are going to have to put in some systems and, kind of hack your brain and do the hard thing. So that's why we want to start small. But the problem here is that I goes back to that, but it also goes back to this cognitive behavioral therapy. We're so conditioned to just be like, I know how to fix it. I'm gonna do instead of be, right? So I'm just going to jump straight to the action. I'm not going to think about the thought pattern. I'm not going to make sure it's the right thing. I'm not going to make sure that it's the right goal for me. This is what coaching, people ask me, you're a health coach? Does that mean you work out with people? No, I'm helping you break through all of this muck, right? To get clear and get a clear next step and get a clear picture. So one of the things that I talk about often is, what we spend our time on is not necessarily the same thing as what we spend our energy on. And sometimes I do this exercise. You might spend 80% of your day at work, but 80% of your energy is actually focused on worrying about your kid, worrying about what other people think of you, people pleasing. And so we actually have to look, when I say take something off your plate, I don't always mean something physical. Like for the most part, there's a lot of us, there isn't anything we can take off our plate. Like I can't not take my kid to hockey, although, I could get someone else to drive them, which I do, and not feel guilty about it. But there are definitely kind of things that we can't shift. So if that's you're a shift worker, you're someone and you're a single mom, I get it. There's certain things you cannot take physically off your plate, but I guarantee you there's things that you can take energetically off your plate. 100%.
So such good advice. Oh my God. How much mental energy do we waste in a day? And then we wonder why we have brain fog and we can't remember anything.
Mm-hmm. And then we wonder why we can't, when we're trying to white knuckle that bike to the left for the first few times, we need the mental energy then. Right. That's when you need the energy. So how can you do that if you haven't first step back and work? And so, the hilarious thing is I'm just going to tell you, Sarah, it's kind of a hard sell what I do because people want the quick fix and the easy button. And I'm like, guess what we're going to do? We're going to step it back a bit. We're not going to do those 5 things that you came here to do. We're actually going to take a step back. We're going to talk through this. We're going to make sure it's clear. And then we're going to start small, because then the other thing about having the energy to do the thing, to take the bike and turn left, you're more likely to do that if that goal is really realistic. And I'm talking so realistic at the beginning. I'm talking you do nothing and you're going to go for a 5-minute walk. It is not about the 5-minute walk. It's going to be easier to hack your brain knowing it's a 5-minute walk than it will thinking it's got to be an hour CrossFit class.
And isn't it also that you're becoming a walker? You are stepping into the identity of someone who walks. Yep. And that can be true if you walk for 5 minutes, just as it's true if you walk for 25 minutes. Yes. So talk to us about the small, because again, the overachiever in all of us looks at a 5-minute walk and says, what the hell is the point of that? That is not worth my time. That's not going to get me results, blah, 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 blah. Why are small goals so helpful? How do we get around that part of us that thinks well, that's kind of useless?
2 things. Number 1, science, because the science shows, right? So let's talk about the habit science first. Science shows, so we've already talked about the fact that it's hard to change habits at first. So the science shows that let's approach this knowing that we're actually trying to rewire our brain. We have to be a little bit patient. So if we can choose, realistic, measurable, timely, all the smart goal, the ease, and I'm talking easier than you think it should be. If we change our mindset around that and say, you know what, I'm doing this because it's the first step to start rewiring my brain. It's going to be easier in that 90 seconds that my brain is going to give me all the excuses. The 5-minute walk is a little bit harder, a lot harder to have an excuse about than the hour workout. So first things first is let me be patient. I know I'm rewiring my brain here. This is a process. I'm picking some very tangible, realistic goals, non-negotiable, because I know my brain is going to try to stop me. And so it needs to be something that it's oh, Katie, there's no way. Come on, you can do a 5-minute walk. So that's number 1. Okay. Number 2, it goes back to the shame. I am a huge mental health, obviously, I mean, movement is my medicine. I used to be on medication. I'm no longer. I'm all for it if it works for people, but for me, movement is my medicine. So when we approach our physical health habits from a perspective of mental health first daily, we talked about, so is the 5-minute walk going to change your waistline? Nope. Is the 5-minute walk going to reduce your stress, reduce your anxiety, give you more energy, make you feel proud of yourself? Hell yes. So that's where when we shift our goals away from the weight loss and towards I want to feel better today, the 5-minute walk absolutely makes a difference. Then you build from there.
That's so important. Can we talk about motivation? Because
yeah,
this is one of the things. I know. So let's talk about why we hate it. People claim, again, just like they think they're lazy, they claim that they're unmotivated. And again, I think if you're relying and waiting for motivation to help you change, you're in for a world of disappointment. And like you said, people like you, people like me, who, if you think that I wanted deeply to go to my personal training this morning, no, I would have rather sat on my couch and drank my coffee before I sat down to do this. But I don't do it because I'm motivated. I do it because I have committed to myself. Mm-hmm. And the other thing I'd love for you to touch on is accountability, because I know that's probably why you do what you do. But I know my exercise, I'm going to be more successful if I have external accountability. Would I love to create more internal accountability? 100%. But I've been at this long enough that I know that if there's someone waiting for me on the other end, I'm going to show up. So let's chat about motivation, why it sucks, and then maybe accountability.
Sure. So motivation, when I do talks or workshops and I poll the audience of, why don't you, it's not just exercise, it could be sleep, nutrition, whatever, but why is it hard for you to maintain your health habits? Top 3 things: motivation, energy, time. So I can group motivation and energy kind of together. So motivation, the problem is the science shows us you don't get motivated. We just said this, you cannot you will wait forever if you're waiting for motivation to do something. You get motivation. I actually don't even know if you even, I'm still kind of, jury's out for me on that one. Am I motivated still, even though I've nailed my physical activity habit? I don't think so. I'm committed. Like you said, I'm dedicated. Mm-hmm. So I actually would kind of just cross motivation off the list. And listen, our brain wants to give us excuses to not do it because we don't want to feel crappy. And that's totally natural. So our brain is going to say, well, I can't do this because I'm not motivated. She's motivated, but I'm not. Don't shame yourself. You're human, but understand that that's not true. That person's not motivated. They're just committed. And you can do it too as soon as you shift your mindset. So that's what I would say about motivation. Some people say, oh, it'll show up once you start. Yeah, I just don't love the word. So I would just say, scratch it. Don't build motivation, build commitment, dedication. And that's through systems and accountability. So kind of a nice segue.
Perfect.
Accountability, the science shows that changing habits, so we already know it's hard at the beginning, right? So we need to set up ourselves for success. So there's a couple things we need to do, right? So we know we need to reduce shame. We know we want to kind of focus in on what's going to make us feel better in the moment. Set realistic goals, right? Monitor ourselves. So it has to be tangible. So it's got to be I'm going to schedule this in. So you're setting the systems. I'm scheduling it. I am making sure that I know in the moment I'm not going to want to do it. So, as we move to accountability, it's kind of the process here, but you have to have the system set up. It can't be, the other big problem is it's so vague. Oh, I'll do it tomorrow, or I'm going to do it 3 times a week. No. With my clients, they know, I'm on Vox, I'm on an app with them every day, Monday to Friday. And I'm like, send me a picture of your calendar. Did you put it in your calendar? We have to have it smack us in the face, and we have to literally at the beginning, not forever, it has to be so simple, so set, non-negotiable in our calendar. And then the accountability piece is what helps us. Even in that moment, it's still going to be hard. So accountability, absolutely science-based. So whether you hire a coach like me, And again, I'm different than a personal trainer, right? I'm like kind of communicating with someone on every weekday over an app. We're talking every 2 weeks on the phone. I'm holding you accountable to a bunch of things, whether it's your nutrition, whether it's your sleep, whether it's your physical activity. But having a personal trainer is a perfect example of like, if you want to be accountable to a specific workout and you hire a personal trainer, you're more likely to just show up because you've A, invested, and B, someone's waiting for you. Even if you can't afford it, get a friend. Speak it out loud. Start a walking thing at work. Say like Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Have a friend or someone like text you every day to check in. Like it doesn't need to be expensive. It doesn't have to be rocket fancy.
No, it doesn't have to be. It's that unfortunately, we're more willing to show up for someone else than ourselves, especially as women, which we'd like to change, but this is true. So the accountability is 1000% based in science. This is why, for example, for me, I've noticed the 3 months is good. Like by the third month, because you need someone, and all of my clients have said that's what changed the game for me. The calls every 2 weeks to change your mindset is great. It's knowing that you are going to be like, hey, what'd you do today? It's like that makes a difference. It does. And so you can do that with a friend. You can do that with a coach. You can do that. But if it's not clear and if it's not set and you're just, theoretically saying you're going to get healthier, your brain is going to continue to push it off. Like you really have to be strategic about it.
I love this. You've shared so much helpful information. I'd love to ask you just before we wrap up, one of the things we do obviously on the show here is we help women fix their fatigue. What's one piece of advice that you would have for women in terms of how they can maybe spend less energy, waste less energy, or create more energy through their habits?
I would say this is going to sound very counterintuitive, but if you had to pick one thing to snowball affect your fatigue, I would say it's movement. I know you think it should be, well, I got to sleep more so that I can move, or I got to this, like, no. What I've noticed is if you're not like you are, like me, I just commit that I'm going to move my body for a minimum of 10 minutes a day. And that could be like a quick 10-minute walk. What happens when you just make a non-negotiable commitment to movement is it starts a snowball effect. You will sleep better. You will be more tired and sleep earlier. Science shows that when you move your body, you actually inherently eat better, even if you didn't try to change your nutrition. So that is my one tip. If you're going to start with one thing that is going to be like, check, so good on all levels, it's start with movement, but make it realistic.
I love that. And I would say pick something that feels good, not what the Instagram people are telling you is like the best for cortisol or for long, lean muscles. If I hear long, lean muscles one more time, I'm going to lose my shit.
Right.
Anyways, pick something you like,
yes.
Start small and move. I love that. It's great advice.
Yes.
Katie, thank you so much for being here. We are going to link to your Instagram and your website so that people can connect with you and follow up with you.
Awesome.
Thanks again for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you back here in 2 weeks. Thanks for spending your precious time with me today. If you enjoyed today's episode, I'd love it if you would send it to a woman in your life who needs to hear it. And there's no better way to help me reach more women who want to fix their fatigue than to take 2 minutes to leave a rating and review wherever you're listening to this. Ready to get more insight into what's making you tired? Find out which of the 5 most common types of fatigue you're dealing with by taking my fatigue fingerprint quiz at fatiguefixer.ca/quiz. Are you dealing with frazzled fatigue, where your body's exhausted but your brain won't shut up, making it hard for you to fall asleep? Or maybe you're more of the drained fatigue type, where no matter how much sleep you get, you're never rested and struggle to get up in the morning. Just take my fatigue fingerprint quiz and your results will include a list of recommended labs you can ask your doctor for, as well as my top recommendations for which habits and practices are best for fixing your type of fatigue. Find the quiz at fatiguefixer.ca/quiz. Because being tired all the time isn't normal, and you deserve to have good energy. Last but not least, I want to thank Jen Hudson and Mike Trutler over at Story Studio Network for bringing these conversations to life. I'll see you right back here in 2 weeks. Bye.